Yo, what's up guys? Jimmy here. We have a fun video today. I just wanted to go through the information about the Sailing Alpha in old school RuneScape. Now, today's video is going to have 3 different parts. We're going to do a quick little reintroduction perhaps of, the Sailing Alpha and what actually is contained, like what were the actual methods available versus what we shared in our previous video. Then we're going to kind of review all the different amounts of XP and different strategies that I had. We just got Marlin done as of tonight. It took me a couple tries to get through Shark, but we actually managed to get Marlin on our 3rd attempt. And I think, with good randomness, we should be able to do it again if we need to. I think we did a 455, and then I guess we'll close out the video with some of our thoughts about sailing in general. So really to start off, the sailing profession itself, I think we've talked a bit about the different varieties of XP that we're expecting to see. The main XP sources seem to be the main 3 of port tasks, which is like courier, and in the future will include combat. So they pretty clearly delineated that in the future, perhaps in the beta that's coming, we will eventually be able to see combat with different sizes of cannonballs that are going to be made with like bronze, iron, steel, all the way up to presumably dragon. Now, the port tasks seem to be dwarfed in comparison to, we've learned about a new 2.5 or 3 tick method to do salvaging while trimming and using the wind catcher on the sails to get, like there's basically 3 different XP sources that you're farming at the same time. And then that is technically dwarfed as well by the one-time completion of the Barracuda time trials, the first of which, at least in the alpha, unlocked at level 30. So I just wanted to quickly talk about those XP numbers because they are pretty crazy. You can see that the first time completion is absolutely going to be worth as soon as you can get to the time trials. And most of the XP rewards that are coming from earlier parts of the skill are going to be rewarded in like the form of one-offs right now. So there's been some negative feedback about this on Reddit. I actually chimed in myself and we got like a bunch of support on some random comments saying, the activities would, feel better if there was more purpose and not just something that you do and forget. Now, the main tasks that we're talking about are 1, charting. Charting is just going to a location and writing, which pulls you off the helm, and then you have to jump back on the helm. Then there's the spyglass, which you just literally pull out your spyglass. So as soon as you get the tool, you can do it on land or on your boat, but there's certain hotspots, just like charting, that you have to bring your boat to or run your character to, and then you'll claim some XP. One of those was like right on the island of Pandemonium, right outside of where you complete the Pandemonium quest. That did give like 52, 53 XP, which is about 1 trim and a half. So a little bit better than, a trim, but also not as good as a port task. So I don't think that one's really worth it. It's like a 17-second walk. The main idea with the skill right now is that you want to kind of push to unlocking a salvaging hook as soon as possible, which means you're grinding to level 12 as quickly as possible. Right now that's true because wind catcher and salvaging hooks are unlocked at the same level, and the wind catcher is perhaps the most important part about the sailing skill because it's going to get you passive XP while sailing. And when I say passive, I mean you have to click your sail with the wind catcher activated. That gets you all the XP you're going to need. And even if you're just playing casually, you go to your salvaging spot and you're not doing any tick manipulation, you're still going to get pretty good XP. And you can do that to level 30 fairly quickly in the current XP scaling. Now, if the XP scaling changes, all of these ratios might change. I actually hope that the one-off XP gets improved because right now it's a bit lackluster. Now, the one-offs for the time trials are insane. It's something, I'll put them on screen here, but you can see that the final one for Barracuda time trial Marlin rank, which is the one I just did after, maybe trying for about 30 minutes. That one is almost enough XP alone to get you to level 40 by the time you've completed it, assuming that you unlock the first rank Swordfish, right, at level 30, since you can't do it before then. So if you can just do those 3 back to back, we're talking about, I think it's, I want to say that's like a total of 11 minutes if you had perfect runs every single time to get those 10 levels done, which is going to blow out any sort of other method out of the water. So practicing sailing, in case you're seeing this in the next couple days, ahead of the beta closing or the alpha closing, could be in your best interest if you're actually looking at racing in the skill, because the race to 40 is going to kind of kick off, okay, well, who gets the early advantages, and then is there some resource that it's going to be contended, and right now it's not looking like that. But I think there is something like maybe these pirate salvaging spots might have higher tiers, and maybe getting your higher tier salvaging hook earlier than other people might mean that you could camp a node longer. I'm not exactly sure if that's actually going to play out in live, like if it's going to be better to be on an empty server. But I did notice that when I went to like my first salvaging spot, it generally would get consumed because I presume someone had already used some of the node or something, or it's just a percentage to deplete, similar to how trees work and things like that, resources that are finite. So anyway, without getting too long-winded here, I want to give my thoughts about the skill as well. It took us an hour and 8 minutes, by the way, to get to level 30 in the the alpha on our second attempt. We did learn character on like the opening day, kind of just casually. This time we didn't do like the exploration side. We're just like, well, what if we actually, purposely go for like the XP methods that we know? And I think we could trim that down further, but the point is the beta is likely going to change many variables. So if you guys are looking at the racing side, definitely try and practice each stage because it's probably not going to change majorly. I assume that the changes will get lesser and lesser as we get closer to launch. But yeah, as for my thoughts about sailing, the skill overall feels pretty good. I like that there's a variety of training methods. When you compare it to something like farming, which, maybe contracts make farming a little bit better, but like herb runs and tree runs, it's very like chore oriented, where this skill actually is a bit about exploration. Now, if there's like some more nature of like reharvesting the one-off nodes or making them more impactful, one idea that was like maybe if the currents actually helped you get more speed in that area, like doing a current, it's just like a little bit unrewarding. So if I could group it with other things, it feels a little better. But I like that there's at least a few different methods of getting the XP. It's like similar to if agility just gave you XP for running around the open world. If like you clicked your character's feet every time, they got like a burst of energy or something, which is a cool idea because that encourages you to run around the world, right? So I like the idea of racing the skill. And as for like the power creep side of things, I think it's way too early to tell. We've seen like islands that had 6 different salamander spots for red sallies, and like a dungeon that might have some slayer monsters in it, like fire giants and red dragons. I think there's black demons in there as well. Some interesting things, but all in all, I like that it's not instance. I think that the Barracuda time trials are very promising. I think there's some really weird bugs about movement. Like it seems that the very first pool that you travel through, you have to like move your ship in order to pick up the rapid. I don't think the hitboxes of the clouds make a lot of sense. I've had some very weird one-offs that I'm guessing are either network related or just some weird logic that I'm not quite understanding about like my boat's tile or something. We know about like this little like wiggle strat where like if you're trying to catch something on the side of your boat, you can somehow like turn in that direction even though you don't really move. You can like get an extra it seems like an extra square on your hitbox. I don't like those types of things. I think that that's a little bit jarring from like an immersion standpoint. But like things like the actual gameplay itself, I think are pretty good, right? I think this could be a fun skill to level with people. Meeting up at a certain salvaging spot could be awesome. I would like to see a bit more randomness though about like how these harvesting spots are done, and maybe like a larger difference on like what you can get from those nodes, like more things like collections. And we know there's going to be a pet, but like having more things that could be impactful for your progression would be pretty cool. So yeah, let me know what you guys thought of the sailing alpha. I know there's very controversial opinions about loving and hating the skill, and I tend to think that overall my impression of this alpha is somewhere between like an 8 and a 9 out of 10. And I say that having done like, the archaeology and, I was there for necromancy as well, but all the skills all the way back to when farming first came out. Farming was the first new skill I got to play. I wasn't a member when agility came out, but pretty much every skill after that I was there for. So Slayer, all the whole works. You guys know I was a 2-digit hunter rank at one time in 2007. We pushed to like 20 mil XP on red shins way long ago. But anyway, I'm excited to do the sailing race, and yeah, I appreciate all the support, guys. Hope you guys have a great rest of your week or weekend, depending on when you're watching this video. And otherwise, have a great day. Catch you in the next one.